Fun fact, Oreo currently is at BrizCraft. He's at the University of Queensland. And as check-ins were happening, he was actually on the way to the university, so he wasn't at a PC.
Ah, close.
Yeah.
Almost had him. But regardless, I'm sure here on Jagannatha we have somebody representing him, and who better represent Azure than the straight-up king of Brisbane himself in the bottom left-hand corner map, swinging all the way into the bottom left-hand corner of Jagannatha, a blue Zerg player from Brisbane, as we were saying, representing our very own Cranky Ducklings. He is going to make his opponents go, uh-oh, Oreo. Cookie 2, I think Seal called him.
He did. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the Kong from Hong Kong himself, the best Protoss player in the entire tournament right now. It is the pink Protoss. It is Bistork.
Oh.
And Oreo does
cool first.
Yeah, Oreo does not want to be cannon rushed. Which, to be fair, Bistork did open up with a Gate Forge against Gogo Joey on this map.
He did, and Oreo was definitely... Oh, he may have been able to catch a glimpse of that. So it's definitely at the back of his mind. Nonetheless, he just does not want to underestimate Bistork. He does not want to give him the benefit of the doubt, because once you do that, Bistork is gonna make you regret. Make you regret it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where Bistork, he has a reputation in our region. Like, he is known for being hyper aggressive, and being very unique as well, with his own style. So Oreo is just playing things safe here in his opener. And we'll see what Bistork has, because we've seen a lot of different things come out from him. You know, we saw a lot of Sky Toss in the first series, and against Gogo Joey, we saw a mixture, and like we saw like DTs come out from him as well.
Yeah, definitely a player with plenty of range, Bistork is. Was a period of time where he kind of defied all of our expectations and was doing nothing but playing towards the meta, and by that I mean doing nothing but making Void Rays, but has felt like he's evolved away from that recently, and you know, it's just another tool in his repertoire.
Exactly.
Instead of the only thing he does.
Yeah. Like, he did it enough to the point where I don't want to say he perfected it, but he's very comfortable with it. And now that's just another tool, right? As you were saying, you know, it's just something else that he can bring to the table as he does go for a Stargate opener.
Yeah. Nice and safe. Also giving you a lot of options depending on if you go Oracle Void Ray, Void Ray, Void Ray, Oracle, 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 Oracle. Which rarely happens nowadays, but oh man, one day.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah. At least 3 oracles, you know, we see that every now and then, sometimes. If Pez was here, I'm sure he would whip it out.
Shout out to Pez.
Yeah, shout out to Pez. I know he's you know, been busy with work recently, but hopefully we get to see him once again in the GPO at some point.
He's getting ready for ANZ champs,
True.
At the very least, so yeah. We will be satiated there at least.
We will. Meanwhile, there we go. Void Ray first for Bistork. As Oreo does dive in with his Overlord, he scouts the opener. He knows at least what Bistork is starting with, but again, he has to be careful with the follow-up. Meanwhile, Oreo goes for a lair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
crazy.
early lair and a very exposed one too.
You know, you were about to say earlier, like, yeah, he was watching the series of Gogo Joey versus Bistork. Maybe he was.
He might have, yeah.
Yeah. This will be scouted though.
Kind of what happens when you are forced to make it that board.
Yeah, and unfortunately the lanes were cleaned up. No mining here at the third base for at least a little bit. 3 drones go down, and Bistork got a lot with those 2 adepts.
Yeah, 3 drones, a little bit of lost mining time, but most importantly, he scouts how early that lair timing is.
Yeah, and Oreo's being very greedy as well. He did not throw down any spores, even though he scouted the Stargate opener. He's relying on his queens to defend his mineral lines, but his queens are distracted by the Void Ray, and the Oracle's gonna dive into the third. Oh no.
Oh no, Bistork with the hurting. He's got the mind of a shepherd right now.
Exactly.
He knows exactly how to draw away those queens. I believe the Void Ray survived. It did. Oracle actually not getting as much value as I thought it would.
Yeah, just a little lost mining time, right? We saw lost mining time from the Adepts, now again from the Oracle. Oh man, now the Void Ray comes back in!
That's a multi-prong after multi-prong after multi-prong. This isn't even a overly aggressive assault. He actually forces a transfuse on that Overlord. That's gonna hurt a lot down the line.
It really is. This has been a really rough start for Oreo, and I'm not convinced by the follow-up. So as we can see, that fast lair was for a Hydra Den. He's going for a Hydra timing, which is great against double Stargate openers, but it's not a double Stargate opener. It's Glaive Adepts.
Yeah, unfortunately, Oreo has never really been able to get back into that main base to confirm what the opening was. Has only seen one Void Ray, which, I mean, it can be a little bit suspicious, but it should be too much to really, like, it should really be too much to prompt in the mind of, hey, something is up. You're not committed yet.
Yeah, I'm really afraid right now. He does have a Ling out on the map. He hasn't gone in for another scout. He did see the third base, but in come the Adepts, and because of that Void Ray, we don't have any spotter Overlords. The creep is pretty decent, so this will be scouted eventually, but the Hydras against Adepts are not ideal. Adepts can trade efficiently.
Especially Adepts that have Glaives. At the very least, Oreo will have a bit of a range advantage, so maybe if he can kite with that, but it's not looking too good so far. Actually, the Adepts, they are starting to get surrounded, but look at that! Just see a couple of them on top of these Hydras for a second or two, and they go down like butter.
Yeah, 6 Hydras have already died. Like, this is so much gas being wasted. On top of that, now Bistork has scattered the Hydras. Like, he didn't know what the lair was for earlier. It could have been mutas for all he knew. And now he's getting ready for them by going into charge. Not just charge, Colossus as well.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's why Bistork was so tentative with his upgrade choices earlier on. But now that he confirms, oh, I don't have to worry about anti-air. He is fully committed. He has literally no anti-air.
Yeah, all right, and here we go. Oreo's all in. He has done droning. Unfortunately, his economy was interrupted in the early game, so this isn't hitting as powerfully as he would have liked, but it's still hitting. And we'll see what the defense is going to look like. Oh, the first Colossus will finish for this, though.
Yeah, there's a chance here for Oreo, but everything needs to go his way. Like, Bistork needs to be completely out of position. Oreo needs to be able to establish his foothold and get reinforcements in, but Bistork is not allowing that to happen.
Yeah, and I respect this from Oreo. He dips in, sees the Colossus, drones up. He's like, I can't go for the kill that I wanted to go for. I cannot hit my timing. It will not work. And as we saw, like, that's why we were sounding pretty down. It wasn't gonna work, mate. Like, look at the defensive setup. Oreo has to transition.
Yeah. It's going to be a little bit behind of his transition, but it's better than being dead.
It's true. It's very true. You know, rather be alive than dead. And Oreo's living for now. We'll see where he goes with this, because again, the Colossus are a very big threat here. It's going to be risky if Oreo decides not to throw down a Lurker Den, because this is still a very terrifying army.
It really is. Oreo now working on a couple of Banelings, which will help against the Adept buffer, but not much else. Thermal Lance finish up? It did quite some time ago, so Bistork's just gonna have a really good time with these Colossus.
Yeah, he has to be careful though. Again, he doesn't want to dive too deep into creep, so he just dips in a little bit, clears up some creep, rotates around, and as that was happening, there was a Baneling run by. Like, 8 probes went down.
That's actually pretty significant.
Yeah, and another one's being set up. It's a waddle by.
Maybe able to dodge those stasis wards. Very clutch warp in here from the side of Bistork. Doesn't lose any more workers. Doesn't lose much of anything either. So
yeah,
pretty nicely done.
He did turn around with his army though, and again, this is buying Oreo time. He's losing a lot of creep, which is a bit of a shame, but at least, like, you know what? Infestation Pit finished up. He's working on his hive. He wants to get into the Vipers. He needs to wait, buy time, get the Vipers so we can get those yoinks out.
And time is currently being bought.
Yeah, exactly. You could
quite yet though.
yeah, exactly. Like it's still a long ways away, right? You gotta wait for the hive, you gotta wait for the Vipers, you gotta wait for them to stuck on some buildings and gather that energy. And as all this is happening, unfortunately, like Bistork is getting his fourth up and running. Like we're on equal basis.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is a bit of a double-edged sword there. When you buy time, so does your opponent.
Yeah.
You have to split him right down the middle.
Exactly. And now Bistork is pushing out across the map. This time there's not that much creep spread, or he's getting ready for the surround.
Will he be able to do it, though, with the Archons guarding the flank? Force fields aren't looking great. Finally, a couple of them do land, but unfortunately not where the Banelings are. Doesn't quite matter in the end, though, because Bistork, he's got a lot of beef on this army. Most of what he needed to survive did, in fact, survive.
Yeah, exactly. We do have a couple of...
You can't really say the same about Oreo's army.
Exactly. The reinforcements are coming in for Oreo. That's a lot of Banelings being morphed in. Unfortunately, the Banelings were not ready for the initial wave, for the initial defense, because Oreo didn't have any vision on the map. He didn't know where the army was, and now the army is here in his face. Surprisingly, not a lot of drones have died, but he himself might die. The Banelings are crashing in.
They are. They've dealt with most of the buffer, and actually a couple of Archons, but that was the majority of Oreo's army. Traded very inefficiently. GG is called, and Bistork once again will take the series 1-0. Well played. Regardless, I'm very proud that Oreo was able to take out Demi. A long time nemesis, kind of a... Actually, in the very first GPO, if I'm remembering correctly, Oreo... It was Oreo Demi in the finals. Demi obviously won. And I remember Oreo said something along the lines of, "One day, Demi, one day I'm going to be able to beat you in a tournament." And I think he has before this, but every time he's able to knock Demi out, it's pretty impressive to see.
Yeah, I mean, Demi's a big name in our region. You know, he's one of the best Zerg players that we have available to us. So again, a very well played game there by Oreo. We saw that unfortunately his plan was to go for a timing attack, and it was hindered quite a bit. It was delayed by all the aggression, by the Oracle, by the Adepts as well. So it was always going to be an uphill battle after that initial attack just didn't hit, right? And he was also being like cutting a lot of corners. By the game ended, I don't know if you saw, but the Vipers were coming out like that.
They were, yeah. And a couple of them, unfortunately, were taken up by the Archons too. A little bit too close to for the yoink.
Yeah. He just needed a little bit more time for the Vipers, you know.
Yeah.
But with that, you know, congratulations to Bistork. He once again takes down Oreo for the second time this tournament, and now it is his turn for that rematch.
Yeah, one that I'm sure he's definitely warmed up a lot for.